Now, remember what I said about a series of mistakes that ends up costing you the game? The first mistake is this. In this replay, to make sure, I assumed that 8 minutes was the fastest that the worst case scenario for riflemen, plus 2 soldiers, plus 2 armored soldiers, could be out. With that in mind, I put down a barracks forge with this forge timed out such that it will have +1 by the time 8 minutes comes in. There's just one downside to that. Zhao is about to be +3 armor, which I have not taken into account. And +3 armor means that each one of these soldiers is only going to take 2 damage from a single rifleman. So they can survive 63 hits. Now, so my first mistake is a lack of control of an area. Notice this. While there are plenty of units now to hold off even these highly upgraded soldiers, I only have +1 at around the 830 mark. And these soldiers, while they're not going to do around, they're going to come around and not do too much damage due to how many things are here. Look what's going on back in Zhao's base. If we go over to the production tab, he's making out only soldiers. Yeah, while he's surprised I have as many riflemen as I do, he is only cranking out soldiers. 1, 2, 3, 4 barracks of soldiers with +4 armor, +1 weapons on the way. And while it's a delayed third base, look at this. Third base is going to go down. Not right now. Now, so the first mistake is a possible build order mistake. Because look, I'm going to have +2 weapons shortly after Zhao has +4 armor. So something about how I built this somewhere along the line is not optimal, at least against this strategy. So, mistake, we pointed out one mistake, possible build order error. Another mistake that we're going to see. Look at this attack. How it's going to come in. Come on, and do a lot of damage. Here, we're going to slow this down. Ding! I got this base at around 630, which seems pretty safe against everything else that I've done before. But frankly, I'm not ready for this attack in the slightest. So, a couple of things that could go on. Look at this. In terms of gold, I'm ahead. But these units are just so damn effective. Each one of these soldiers at 5 total armor is only taking 3 damage apiece. So despite the fact that we're currently at 19 riflemen to 15 soldiers, even with the space control of this watchtower, we're going to see that that rifleman number is going to dwindle pretty quickly. So in addition to a possible build order mistake or a lack of build order optimization on my part, we're seeing that perhaps another error that is being made. There's like a weird yawn thing that was going on. Another error that's going on that I referenced before is look at this lack of familiarity with what's going on. Although at this point Zhao has a slightly worse economy, those 10 soldiers are in no way contested by these +2, almost +3 riflemen. They're just not contested. They can walk right over them. So, having not seen this strategy before, I did what I continued, what I've been doing, which is just cranking out more upgrades. Now, the problem with this is that there are no mages, there are no anything. So, what this means for us is that while I'm slightly ahead, about 1,000 plus gold ahead in terms of the gold mining department, this army cannot move out on the field. Now, something that I noticed from my last game that was lacking, and also from my previous plays, is that riflemen against this kind of build, against the soldiers and just in general, have a hard time holding space on their own. So the addition of this watchtower could theoretically mean that, oh look, all I have to do is just build a watchtower, buys me enough time to run around and stop all of the things. But there's a problem with that, and that it's never gone against, again, an unexpected development. It's never gone against this many soldiers. Remember how 3 soldiers can take out a watchtower and it's kind of funny? guarantee you that these soldiers are going to do more than a bit of funny to this tower over here. Meanwhile, Zhao intelligently split up his soldiers over here. Due to superior upgrades, look, only +3 weapons versus +5 armor, +1 weapons. These riflemen are still as ineffective as they were before, and Zhao's split is going to enable him to take out this base as it's building up, because the riflemen have to be together as a ball in order to do enough damage to put down these soldiers. So there's another concern. One is that this tower placement perhaps was not in the best location. While this tower placement makes sense, it covers our natural and our third base, this only covers one angle of attack and it helps defend the third. Perhaps placing a watchtower here would make more, or here would make more sense for space control over here. Now, here's another major error. Remember how I said if you go for a 2 barracks attack and then your opponent went castle first and didn't die, and you do no damage, you're majorly behind regardless of the rest of this game? That is this point right here. Zhao has reset the count on bases. This 4th base, the advantage that I had against Zhao, the only one, is that I was about 1,000 gold ahead of him. My units aren't as effective, so I need more of them. They're not as well upgraded. There's almost not even as many of them. Look, that looks good for me right now, but these riflemen are nowhere near in contestation to those soldiers. And Zhao took out the 4th base. Now, having taken out that 4th base, Zhao took out the only thing that I really had that kept me above him, that equalized the fact that he had a better army and better upgrades. So notice this. I push out because I assume that I've done major damage to this force. Notice this. I want you to just notice. This is roughly, that's not 24, that's 21. Yeah, that's only 21 against 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13 soldiers and a rifleman. But these soldiers, while I'm finally equalized my weapons to their armor, their damage is higher than my ability to withstand it, so these riflemen are even squishier than normal. So this inferior number of better upgraded soldiers on open field with no watchtowers to help them. Remember what we said in the game for the 2 racks with Zhao, where wide open spaces are actually better for soldiers because they can get more surface area? This entire rifleman army is just being routed. So we've counted up about 4 mistakes now. We did not put any kind of placement down over here to leverage out the forge heavy style that Zhao went for. I did not, I continued to go in upgrades and try and make an attack even though my units weren't as well upgraded. I did not manage to hold on to this 4th base, which was my only real advantage against Zhao, and my defensive placement for structures was bad. That alone is actually going to be enough. The game is not over right now, and we're going to speed it through on time 6. The game actually goes on for a bit longer. It might even go on for another 20 minutes, but the point is that the game is actually over at this point. And here's why we say that. Zhao has, look at this, and look at this. Zhao has 20 soldiers. Those soldiers are at +5 armor, +3 damage. These riflemen are only at +5 damage. Zhao has mined only about 1,000 less than we have. Oh, well, than I have, I'm sorry. Zhao has more workers than I do. And Zhao's army, by virtue of being soldiers against riflemen, forces defensive placement. Now, that's a pretty serious group of benefits already. But we're going to see that Zhao, kudos to Zhao. Zhao did an excellent job this game. But when you're analyzing your replays, you have to say, what could I have done to do better? And at this point, we're just going to see that I'm just going to stay around for a long time. But there's never really any threat of me coming back into this game. Look, I'm on +5 weapons. Zhao has +4, +5. This is a very tough hold, but it is a hold. Zhao has 18 more supply. He has, oh man, he has more than that now. He has 48 to 69. He has 20 more. Look, he has almost the same number of soldiers that I do riflemen. He's going to have, and that is a stockpile of the mistakes that were made by defensive placements, and the mistakes that were additionally made by poor unit choice, poor defensive awareness on this fourth base, just etc. At this point, Zhao is just going to make even more units, even more bases. He's just going to continue to pump out his advantage. I mean, at one point, he's going to go up to, I think, 45, maybe even close to 50 workers. Zhao has money for days, man. I mean, look at this. Remember how Zhao was down about 1,500? Well, now he doesn't even have that disadvantage anymore. His rate of income is actually faster than mine. He's going to make up this difference pretty quickly. Notice how far set back I am. He has a 5th base going on in operational. Mine is just starting. He has the ability to harass because he took so many efficient fights and engagements and decisions earlier in the game. He has the ability to completely throw away soldiers and units for harassment, and I do not have that capability because of the series of compounded mistakes that I made before. Look, even this choice of tech, going for mages is actually another mistake in this matchup for me. Mages with Flame Strike do 25 damage. Soldiers with +5 armor mean that Flame Strikes only do 19 damage. That means that it's going to take 6 or 7 Flame Strikes. It will reasonably take 3 Flame Strikes or so to even make a dent, a reasonable dent worth their cost in a soldier's hit points. Look, Zhao can completely throw away these units going on scouting expenditures that don't actually do anything. Because look, he was able to take that advantage, turn it into the same mages that I have, more soldiers than I have. I am finally catching up on upgrades, but still behind him. And look, he almost has 1.5 times the number of workers. He can just remake his army whenever he wants. Like, it's absolutely crazy. The rest of this game is me trying to hold on as Zhao goes for soldier mage and gets a couple of catapults to go with them, and he just completely walks over me. Look at this. Look how hard it is just to stop this harassment from 4 to 5 soldiers right here. +5 soldiers are just do work on buildings. Just do work. Zhao, because he has map control, because his army is more powerful. He doesn't need mages, slow units. He doesn't need watchtowers, immobile units that need to be babysat in order to move out on the map. And so Zhao is very capable of taking bases. Easily. And so we're going to get to this point in the game. There's going to be a point coming up here where there's going to be a major engagement. I'm going to lose it. And if you look at your replays and you see that moment, that killing blow in which you take all the damage and then you lose the game right there, it's very easy, as I've said before, to go to the replay, look at your loss and say, well, I guess I lost here. I mean, oh man, what do I do to fix that? Like, that was so bad. How do I fix that mistake? No. It's incorrect to look at that moment and say that that was the mistake. The mistake wasn't there. I almost guarantee you, I'll say 1995 out of 2,000, if we're going to Billy Mays it, 19.95 times out of 20 bucks, your mistakes that you made previously were responsible for your loss. And just an amazing cleanup job by Zhao. I mean, look at this. I guess when you have 46 workers, you can stockpile 6 soldiers in your barracks and hope that your units die so you can make more units. Oh man, Zhao is so good.